You're listening to Stimulus Tech Talk, a conversation-based podcast created by Stimulus Technologies that covers a range of topics related to business and technology.
Welcome to Stimulus Tech Talk. I am Sherry Lipp, Marketing Manager at Stimulus Technologies, and today I'm here with Stimulus Technology CEO Nathan Whittacre, and we're going to be talking about social engineering. Welcome, Nathan.
Thanks, Sherry. Good to be here, as always.
So to get us started, some people probably know what social engineering is, but they're not familiar with that term. Can you give us an overview of what it means?
Well, let me share a brief story to illustrate what social engineering is before I just jump into the definition. So I started working at a small computer store when I was 16. And one day, somebody called up the store and said, "Hey, I'm so-and-so from the copier repair company, and we need to send out some toner and some repairs for your copier, but we need to verify the model and serial number." And as a 16-year-old, I was eager and to help out the person that was calling, and I walk over to the copier and start giving out the model number of the copier. And one of the other employees comes over and says, "Hey, what are you doing?" I said, "Well, I got the copier repair people on the phone," and they said, "We don't have a copier repair company. Please hang up the phone," and which I did. And come to find out, I was a victim of a social engineering attack, which is basically social engineering is getting somebody to do something that they may not necessarily do on their own. And that's the goal of these social engineers, is to get people to believe them and give information out or do something they might not necessarily want to do.
All right. And so what other types of common social engineering should businesses be on the lookout for?
There's all kinds of things out there that are kind of under this pretext or this whole overarching topic of social engineering. And one of the most famous attackers in the last, call it, 30 years, that used social engineering or pioneered social engineering use in hacking was Kevin Mitnick. And I really like this quote that he has, or comment that he has. It says, "I was so successful in the line of attack that I rarely had to resort to a technical attack. Companies can spend millions of dollars toward technological protections, and that's wasted if somebody can basically call someone on the telephone or either convince them to do something on the computer that lowers the company's defenses or reveals information that they're seeking." And so, the goal of these hackers is to get employees to give out information that they shouldn't or may not necessarily, should be disclosed to the general public. And hackers will use a bunch of different tools and techniques to do that. One of them is very common. Everybody has heard of phishing before, and it's spelled with a PH. And basically, it's getting, collecting unsolicited information or sending out unsolicited attempts to retrieve sensitive information about the company or organization. And the problem is, with organizations and with people in general, is we tend to trust too much. We have an open society, and we have this psychological problem in our minds, most people do, of this default to truth. Researchers call it default to truth, where we believe by default that the person that we're talking to is genuinely honest, or has our interest in mind. And with hackers, obviously they're not. They don't have our interest in mind. They have the other person's interest in mind. And so, but unfortunately, because we default to truth, we're willing to give out information that we may not know is sensitive or may not think is sensitive. And so phishing is pretty common. They use other techniques involved in that, like baiting, where they use a series of attacks to get additional information, or pretexting, where they pretend to be somebody else, like that copier vendor, to get information. But because we default to truth, we believe and want to be helpful to the person on the other side of the phone or on the other side of the email, and we're willing to share that information that allows for the attack.
And do you think so? I was, as a new employee with you, I, got that email to do something, somebody posing as you, and they were kind of playing on. They may have even known I was new to the company, and I wanted to please you. So, what do you think employers can train their employees to do? Because I had a similar thing where another employee is like, "That's not happening." Where somebody told me, but if employee is on their own, how can an employer train them to be on the lookout for something like that?
Uh, be paranoid. Tell your employees that they need to be paranoid. I hate to say it, but question everything. If you're asked for information by an outside vendor, um, you know, train your employees to be as paranoid as possible, and then ask for confirmation. I have a forthcoming book, and I talk a lot about this. I call it two-factor authentication or two-factor operations, where we often talk about two-factor authentication where you have to enter a second code, but talking about procedures and operations inside the company, um, think about everything you do, you should be asking somebody else if that's appropriate. And then understanding that even innocuous information about a company, just names of people, way that companies operate, hackers can use that information to develop a complex attack on an organization. So um, you know, part of cybersecurity training in general is teaching people about all the types of attacks that can happen, so that we're immediately paranoid. And I hate to say that, but the paranoid are the ones that don't get hit. It's the us that want to be friendly and helpful, and give good customer service, and we want to be helpful to other people. That leads to these type of attacks.
And one of the most, and this is maybe for regular users and then outside of business, although people could potentially give up business information, is like the social media quizzes where they're asking people for information to get names and stuff like that. So, what should people kind of be on the lookout for there? Or they should probably avoid it.
Yeah, that's a really common thing is, these social media quizzes are asking a lot of innocuous or perceived innocuous information that they're using to collect information about you. And, you think about those quizzes that you find online that ask for, build your vampire name or your whatever name is, and you are giving and matching names up with your month and date of birth and things like that, or your year of birth. Um, they might ask information about your parents or things like that, and over time, through these quizzes or through social media, they're gathering information about you that they can use to make a complex attack on you. And over time, that information can be used to get enough information, like your date of birth or potentially your location of birth, parents' information, and then they're going to use that information to, along with a bunch of other information they might gather on the dark web, to open up maybe credit card accounts for you or against your credit. Maybe use it for logging in. You have those 3 questions that you sometimes have to answer to log into your account. They might use that to get into your bank account, or there's a lot of ways that they can manipulate this information. So again, it goes back to that social engineering and using innocuous information to generate these complex attacks. So I recommend don't do them at all. So it's not a good general practice to share information like that online. I use social media a lot. It's great to interact with people, but I definitely stay away from those quizzes or just sharing any general information like that. And also be careful on social media to check your privacy. I recommend turning off your birthday or date online, maybe place of birth. Don't share that information even with friends, because sometimes friends accounts can get hacked. and hackers can get in there and garner that information online.
Yeah. And nowadays people can use image search to find out where you are pretty easily. One that I see is like parents posing, having their kids pose with the name of their school in front of their house. That's definitely need to be careful on social media. So in addition, so they can get calls. That's one thing people don't think of when we're talking about cybersecurity is that the phone is also a big tool that hackers can use to get you, and they can get you to log into accounts. I knew somebody who had somebody take over by screen share, at work, thinking that it was their IT company. So that's another form of the people phishing to get you to do something you shouldn't. So what should an employee do if they think that they are being phished?
I immediately report it to their IT company or IT department of any. If you feel uncomfortable about doing something, don't do it. Just report it, and it's better to ask. It goes back to that, two-factor operations where just if it feels weird, if it looks weird, don't do it. Ask, and a lot of the social engineering and the phishing attempts are getting you to do something you wouldn't necessarily do, and there's always this sense of urgency that comes with it too, that if you don't do it right now, something bad is going to happen. And personal attacks, a great example of this is you might get a phone call, as you were saying, from the power company and say, we're going to shut your power off in 30 minutes if you don't pay your power bill right now. And I've heard of the examples of having to take cash down to the gas station down the street or something crazy like that to make these payments. And there's always a sense of urgency with any social engineering attack. And so it's good to take a minute, take a deep breath, verify the information through other means. Contact the company that they say that they're representing not by the number that they give you, but by the number you have on your account statement or your credit card, or some type of billing statement, so that you actually are contacting the company that you think you are. The other thing that's really common now too that I've seen is we set up this two-factor authentication for logging into your email address, maybe your computer or your bank accounts. And hackers will, if they steal your credentials, they'll call you and say, hey, I'm support from Microsoft. I'm trying to help you with this, they might even say like with this attack on your online, but I need this code that just appeared on your phone. And you're like, oh yeah, this code just appeared on my phone. And then they give it to the hacker and now they have access to your account. So these hackers are smart enough to get around these two-factor authentications by calling the user. So never, ever, ever give out those codes to anybody over the phone, because that's one line of attack that hackers are going to give you. And honestly, they use that pressure of got to do it now to get you to do something you wouldn't necessarily do. So just take a moment to breathe, be on the lookout, be paranoid, and the hackers are going to move on if you act paranoid.
Okay, that's a really good tip there. So if a business does find themselves with a breach, somebody did fall for a phishing trap, what's the first steps they should take?
Contact your cybersecurity vendor, an IT vendor. It's really important to go through all the accounts. Once they get access to one account or more, they can spread very quickly across the entire organization. Especially like as you were mentioning, account takeovers or PC takeovers, they could potentially install backdoors on the computer so they can access the systems without you being involved. We've seen that a lot. That a user will give access to a hacker to their system or to their email, and then they're using that as an entry point into the network that they can infiltrate more. So don't be, if you suspect it, if you fell for it, don't be embarrassed. It's better to report it quicker than wait. The longer you wait gives the hackers more time to infiltrate into the network. So just admit what you did. You're not going to hopefully not going to get in trouble for that. because if you can get your IT people on it, the sooner the better it is.
All right. And so one last question here, where can businesses go to get more training or to learn how to train their own employees on this?
So we recommend at Stimulus a set of training, and we offer it to our clients, and it's relatively inexpensive to do this employee training. So um, we do an annual assessment that they have to take. It's about a 1 to 2 hour training with a test at the end, and then weekly micro trainings that are about 5 minutes each, which includes a video and a short quiz. And just keeping that top of mind awareness of the attacks that are out there, things that are going on, really helps the employees be on the lookout for different types of attacks. The other thing that we do for our clients is do test phishing. So or simulated phishing. So we'll send out simulated attacks and see which employees are falling for those so that we can provide additional training to those employees. The last thing too is monitoring usernames and passwords that might be out on the dark web for sale, and then ensuring that those are, those users are changing those passwords often. So that ongoing training is really important. It's not that expensive, and it's just a way to keep that top of mind awareness and create additional paranoia with your employees. We're not going to be running around wearing tin hats, but just be on the lookout and alert for these emails and the attacks that constantly come in.
All right. Well, so that's all the questions I have. Any final thoughts on social engineering?
I just go back to the beginning. Most cybersecurity attacks start with social engineering, and it really starts with information that just seems, rudimentary, just seems like you'd be willing to share. But attackers, whether it's an unsophisticated attack where they're just, blasting everybody inside the organization, or a very specific attack, they usually start with just gathering information. And so the less information that you train your people and are willing to share with others, the better. So just be paranoid when dealing with people you don't know, with even potential vendors. Don't share information that could be used on attacks. And then on social media, just be as paranoid as possible too, because that information can be collected and used against you. So it's kind of scary out there. I mean, there's a lot of danger online, and just be alert for what's out there.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Nathan.
All right. Thanks, Sherry. It's always great to be here.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and be sure to tune in to our next broadcast.